Phase 1. The fragile piece. You eat the cold synthetic meat. You do not taste it. Fuel is merely a biological requirement for the machine. Silence fills the concrete box. The temperature stays at 16 degrees. You prefer the cold. It keeps the mind sharp. The burner phone sits perfectly still. It is your only connection to the outside. You wait for the invisible signal. Sleep is a luxury you cannot afford. They pay $12,500 for your absolute insomnia. You do not think about the past. You do not plan for the future. You exist strictly in the present. The green light breaks the darkness. The dispatcher never speaks. The system only communicates in encrypted 11-digit coordinates. You read the numbers once. You memorize the location. The data encrypts itself. The message vanishes into the digital void. 2:14 in the morning. The city is asleep. You have exactly 45 minutes before the patrol car arrives. You open the operational kit. Everything has a specific place. Chaos is unacceptable. Organization is the difference between freedom and captivity. You pull the blue nitrile. It snaps against your skin. This is the only physical barrier separating you from the rot. The gloves fit perfectly. You lose the sensation of human touch. You become a sterile instrument of the massive system. You prepare the luminol synthesis. The chemicals mix in total silence. It reveals the biological residue that others try to hide. The Faraday containment pouch sits ready. It will block all endpoint signals. No data escapes. No digital footprint survives the night. You wear matte black. No logos. No distinct features. You are designed to be entirely invisible to the security cameras. You push the heavy steel door. The cold night air hits your face. The isolation phase ends. The work begins now. You grab the unmarked key. The transport vehicle is unregistered. It exists solely as a ghost in the traffic grid. You walk down the concrete hallway. Your breathing is steady. Your heart rate remains at a calm 60 beats per minute. You enter the dark cabin. You do not turn on the headlights. You ignite the engine in absolute silence. The empty road stretches forward. The target expiration site awaits. You drive into the night to erase another human error. You park in the designated blind spot. The luxury high-rise looms above. Wealth cannot prevent biological expiration. Building security is a predictable variable. You bypass the main lobby. The service elevator is entirely unmonitored. Floor 42. The ascent takes exactly 90 seconds. Your heart maintains its steady 60 beats per minute. The corridor is empty. The target door is slightly ajar. You step inside without hesitation or fear. The smart lock encryption is overridden in seconds. Technology offers an illusion of absolute safety. You prove otherwise. The biological residue stains the imported oak flooring. The target has reached complete cellular and physical expiration. You activate the ultraviolet spectrum. The unseen becomes undeniable. The room illuminates with violent glowing blue splatter. The splatter pattern indicates a rapid cellular breakdown. Panic leaves a distinct and chaotic footprint on surfaces. You prime the industrial sprayer. The brass nozzle feels cold. The chemical payload is highly corrosive and efficient. You apply the neutralizing agent. The biological signature begins to dissolve. The glowing stains fade into absolute nothingness. The expired target is secured in high-density plastic. You feel no empathy. It is merely organic matter now. You secure the containment bag with industrial ties. The tension is maximum. No fluids can escape the barrier. You scrub the drywall with a synthetic sponge. Repetitive motions. The wall returns to a state of sterile perfection. A single glowing fingerprint rests on the glass. Amateurs make mistakes. You exist to correct their fatal flaws. One drop of pure solvent hits the glass. The fingerprint liquefies. Human identity is erased in 3 seconds. You extract the compromised filter from the ventilation. Microscopic evidence airborne. The machine captured their very last breath. The filter goes into a foil containment bag. The environment is slowly returning to a baseline 0 state. You switch off the ultraviolet light. The room looks perfectly normal. A masterclass in systematic and cold deception. 24 minutes elapsed. Efficiency is your only religion. The physical cleanup is complete. The digital purge begins next. The physical body is gone, but the digital ghost remains on the marble counter. You approach the terminal. The hardware is sleek. The encryption is military grade. You plug in the custom bypass drive. The endpoint wipe initiates. It overwrites every sector with random zeros. Memories become meaningless static. Financial records, private messages, browsing history. The algorithm devours a lifetime of fragile human secrets. The personal device lights up. Someone is looking for the target. They will never find an answer. The copper mesh swallows the signal. The GPS tracker goes dark permanently. Absolute digital isolation. The system detects an active cloud upload. The data is escaping. You have 90 seconds to sever the connection. Wireless transmission is a vulnerability. You locate the central routing hub. The glowing lights mock your efficiency. You snap the fiber optic line. The physical cut is absolute. The upload fails at 92%. Software deletion is never enough. You open the casing. The physical platter must be entirely compromised. You extract the solid-state drive. 2 terabytes of human existence resting on your gloved fingertip. You position the hydraulic punch. Data recovery requires intact silicon. You ensure there is none left. The steel pin crushes the memory module. The physical architecture fractures. The digital ghost is finally exorcised. You collect the fractured silicon. Leave no micro debris behind. Every microscopic fragment tells a story to forensics. A hidden compartment behind the canvas. Paranoia breeds redundancy. The target had secrets they kept strictly offline. The biometric scanner requires a pulse. You do not have the target's hand. You rely on thermal bypass. The thermal lens reveals residual heat. 3 digits pressed in a specific sequence. You input the code perfectly. Bearer bonds and a physical ledger. Paper leaves a tangible trail. The ink must be permanently eradicated. You submerge the ledger in corrosive acid. The ink bleeds immediately. The financial history dissolves into black sludge. The system does not pay you to steal. The bonds are evidence. They go into the incinerator pile. The micropurge is flawless. The hardware is gutted. The paper is ash. The target effectively never existed. You open the final drawer. A routine sweep for physical anomalies. The job is almost finished. A laminated badge catches the light. Legal aid. The target was not a criminal element. You realize the truth. You are not cleaning up a syndicate mess. You are erasing a threat. A handwritten letter to an elderly mother. Unmailed. The ink is cheap and blue. You pause for exactly 4 seconds. Empathy is a defect. It compromises the structural integrity. The burner screen flashes. The dispatcher demands a status update. The machine does not tolerate delays. You drop the badge into the acid bag. The plastic melts. Innocence is irrelevant to the system. The zipper closes smoothly. You seal away an honest life. The payload is ready for disposal. You enter the bathroom. A single blue toothbrush sits in a glass. A solitary existence ended. You spray the bristles with industrial bleach. DNA strands dissolve completely. No genetic trace survives. You wipe the silver mirror. You avoid looking at your own reflection. The glass is flawless. An amber pill bottle rests on the shelf. Heart medication. The target wanted to live longer. You flush the pills down the ceramic bowl. The water swirls. Another medical dependency permanently cured. You scan the bedroom. The ultraviolet beam reveals nothing. The linens are perfectly folded and sterile. You carry the heavy black bags. They contain 50 years of human history. The weight is physical. You exit the unit. The heavy wooden door clicks shut. The void reclaims the empty space. The descent begins. Floor 42 to the basement level. Gravity pulls you back into the shadows. The loading dock is deserted. The yellow sodium lights cast a sickly glow. The extraction is unseen. You push the payload into the trunk. The suspension dips slightly. The cargo is fully secured. 2:58 in the morning. 44 minutes elapsed. You beat the patrol car by 60 seconds. Your grip tightens on the worn leather. The vehicle moves silently through the industrial sector. The physical load feels heavier now. You check the rearview mirror constantly. The empty amber road stretches endlessly. Paranoia is a slow and invisible poison. You stop at a red intersection. A lone night shift worker crosses the street. You evaluate his structural vulnerabilities automatically. You look at the pedestrian's boots. Your mind projects glowing blue stains on his soles. The occupational hazard corrupts your vision. The steering wheel feels sticky. You peel the blue nitrile from your skin. The air conditioning chills your sweating palms. Deep red indentations mark your pale wrists. The gloves are gone. The psychological suffocation remains permanently attached to your skin. You enter a 24-hour automatic car wash. The neon signs hum in the darkness. Isolation inside a moving glass box. Thick chemical foam covers the windshield. The outside world is completely obliterated. You are trapped in a synthetic white void. You stare blankly through the suds. The water pressure distorts the glass, a momentary illusion of being washed completely clean. The burner phone rests on the passenger seat. The black screen offers no judgment. The system is oblivious to your mind. You return to the concrete safe house. The ambient temperature is exactly 16 degrees. The cold no longer provides absolute clarity. You engage the 3 steel deadbolts, one solid, heavy piece after another. Physical security mechanisms cannot lock out the internal rot. You stand before the bathroom sink. The stainless steel faucet pours cold water onto the sterile white porcelain. You need friction. You scrub your hands with industrial pumice soap. The coarse texture tears at your epidermis. Cleanliness demands physical pain. You look into the silver mirror. Deep shadows frame your bloodshot eyes. The reflection resembles the expired targets you erased. You grab the heavy aluminum ultraviolet flashlight. You ignite the intense purple beam inside your own meticulously sterilized living room. You scan the spotless metal dining table. You search for biological residue that does not exist. The paranoia demands visual confirmation. The purple light casts distorted shadows against the bare concrete. Your own silhouette looks like a monstrous and alien entity. You sit on the mattress edge, still wearing the matte black jacket, the rigid posture of a functioning machine actively breaking down. A single drop of water hangs from the bathroom faucet. It falls into the drain. The silent repetition drives you insane. You lie on the rigid mattress. Your eyes refuse to close. The chemical smell permanently lines your lungs. You part the plastic blinds. You scan the empty street below. Paranoia dictates every physical movement now. You retreat from the window. The illusion of safety shatters. You check the 3 steel deadbolts again. You twist the locks 3 times. A compulsive ritual. Physical barriers cannot stop the invisible digital architects. You inspect the ventilation shaft. You search for hidden surveillance devices. Trust is a fatal operational flaw. Dust particles float in the light. No cameras exist here. The surveillance is entirely inside your mind. You empty the escape bag. The contingency plan is activated. You decide to sever the invisible leash. A fabricated identity rests on the floor. A new name. A geographic relocation. The illusion of absolute control. You pack the untraceable currency. The mechanical discipline breaks. Fear replaces the cold and clinical objectivity. You abandon the burner phone. You reject the system. The physical link to the dispatcher is severed. You exit the safe house. The heavy door remains open, a ghost leaving its assigned concrete containment cell. The fluorescent lights flicker erratically. You navigate the decaying corridor. The escape route is carefully memorized. You descend the emergency stairs. The metal railing feels rough. Your heart rate exceeds 100 beats. The interstate highway sign reflects the yellow streetlights, a direct pathway to complete and anonymous disappearance. You hide in the shadows of an abandoned gas station. The outside world feels overwhelmingly large and hostile. A patrol vehicle glides past the intersection. The flashing lights slice through the heavy nocturnal mist. You clutch your chest tightly. The panic attack is purely physiological. The system trained you to break others. The offshore account is frozen completely. The financial network collapsed. The dispatcher is always 10 steps ahead. You stand frozen in the rain. Your resources are neutralized. The grand escape was a statistical impossibility. A secondary burner phone illuminates your pocket. You cannot outrun them. The cage is invisible and infinite. You pull the secondary phone from your wet jacket. The waterproof casing is cold. Escape is merely a logistical illusion. A fresh 11-digit coordinate glows on the screen. The dispatcher knows your exact location. The machine demands your labor. You stand in the rain. The rebellion lasted 20 minutes. You are a captive of your extreme efficiency. You walk back to the unregistered vehicle. The heavy boots drag on the wet asphalt. Defeat is absolute. The ignition key turns. The dashboard illuminates. You drive back toward the concrete containment cell. The cycle resumes. You sit on the familiar metal chair. Your clothes are soaked. The room temperature remains at exactly 16 degrees. The bag of cash sits untouched on the floor. Financial independence is worthless without a living identity. You open a fresh box of blue nitrile gloves. You stretch the synthetic rubber. The ritual physically grounds your mind. You mix a new batch of luminol synthesis. The clear liquid turns cloudy. You prepare to erase another human error. You look into the bathroom mirror. The reflection is barely human. The psychological scarring is permanently etched into your face. A new luxury apartment. A new biological residue on a marble floor. The physical actions are entirely automatic now. You spray the neutralizing agent. The ultraviolet light reveals the glowing stains. You feel nothing but repetitive mechanical friction. You load the fractured drives into the copper mesh. The endpoint wipe is flawless. Another digital footprint is perfectly eradicated. You scrub the walls with the synthetic sponge. The repetitive motion numbs the paranoia. You dissolve into the sterile environment. You return to the metal table. You open another can of synthetic meat. The taste is entirely absent from reality. The burner phone rests near the aluminum fork. You exist solely to wait for the green light. You stare at the blank concrete ceiling. The ultraviolet stains exist permanently in your vision. Isolation is your sanctuary. You are no longer a person. You are an automated extension of the dark architecture, a perfectly erased entity. Across the city, a desperate college student sits in a cramped room. He stares at an encrypted recruitment message. He accepts the coordinates. The cycle restarts. The story is fiction, but the profiling is real. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates.